were slaves, though some were lifetime slaves, indentured or slaves for a set period of time. Once those slaves had served their time, they were made free through a process called manumism. Jews were this type of freed slaves. In fact, upon manumism, and there was a large population of Jews who were citizens of Rome in the first century AD. So there were many Jews that were citizens of Rome, and a lot of them. You had a lot of them that had what? Roman names. They had Latin names. A lot of them didn't necessarily have a Hebrew name. They had Latin. A lot of them had Latin names. They were incorporated into Roman citizenry, incorporated into Roman lifestyle. A lot of them had Latin names. So you read that, think automatically it's talking, but it's actually talking about a Jake. You got something, brother?
No, no, go ahead. Well, I'll say this: that was part of
No.
the
So
curses. No, part of the curses regarding us losing our heritage. Was the changing of our names, taking
right
on the names of the
when it
heathen.
says, "Thou shalt discontinue from the heritage that I gave you." Yep, definitely, definitely. Now there's something that I wanted to read here in the Josephus, because again, Acts the 10th chapter says there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornilius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. So just based off of that, Cornelius is supposed to be a white man. Now there was something that happened 17 AD. Now I made mention of it with Tiberius, but I'm gonna go and read here in the Josephus, and we're gonna go to Antiquity of the Jews, book 18. Go to book 18, chapter 3, and start around verse 7. Here's chapter, and going down here to book 18, chapter 3, actually, chapter 3, paragraph 5. Now it says here, now it says here in chapter 5, it says, there was a man who was a Jew, but had been driven away from his own country by an accusation laid against him, and by the fear he was under the punishment of the same, but in all aspects a wicked man. He then in Rome professed to instruct men in the wisdom of the laws of Moses. He procured also 3 other men entirely of the same character with himself to be his partners. These men persuaded Fulvia, a woman of the dignity and one that had embraced the Jewish nation, to send purple and gold to the temple at Jerusalem, and they employed for their own uses and spent the money themselves. On which account it was that they at first required it of her, whereupon Tiberius, which was Tiberius Caesar, who had been informed of this thing by Saturnius, the husband of Fulvia, who desired be made about it, Tiberius ordered all the Jews to be banished out of Rome, at which time the consuls listed 4,000 men out of them. So 4,000 men out of the Jews, when Tiberius banished Rome, this was 19 AD, the Jews were banished from Rome, but they took 4,000 of those Jews, island of Sardinia, but a greater number of them who were unwilling to become soldiers on account of keeping the laws of their forefathers. Thus were the Jews banished out of the city by the wickedness of 4 men. So They banished the Jews. Tiberius banished the Jews out of Rome in 19 AD, and then they took 4,000 of those men that were banished and basically made them. They sent them to Sardinia, them to become soldiers in the Roman army. Now check this out. Now when you look up Sardinia, you can see that island in that were sent out of Rome in 19 AD by Tiberius. 4,000 of them were sent to Sardinia to become soldiers in the Roman army. Now, the conversion of Cornelius, if you have the Bible, I believe you a date, and it tells you around 36 AD was the conversion of Cornelius. Now, when this happened, this was actually 17 years before Cornelius's conversion. That you had 4,000 Jews that were sent to Sardinia to be trained up in the Roman military.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to read this here about Sardinia. It says Sardinia, Italian, Sardinia, island and region of Italy. Second in size only to Sicily, among the islands of the western. So this was the place, the map, Sardinia, you see Sicily is down here where the boot is at. Sardinia is right here. This is part of Italy. So you had 4,000 in 19 AD, you had 4,000 Jews that were sent to Sardinia to become soldiers. And the other ones who didn't want to participate in the Roman army, they were punished. That was under Tiberius Caesar. That was before Emperor Claudius, because Emperor Claudius in Acts 18, that was the year 49, between the year 49 and 50 AD, when Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome. It tells you in there about Priscilla and Aquila, right? Lately come from Italy, that Claudius had commanded that all Jews depart from Rome. Why? Because they were what? The organized Israelites, bringing them back home, and they were being converted to Yahushua. And Claudius was like, "Oh no, you got to get the hell up out of here with that." The same thing
I got
this time. Nah, you guys, you got to get the hell up out of here. Go ahead.
Yep. I got an Acts for you.
Go
Acts
ahead.
18. All right, because it goes perfect with what you're saying. Acts 18 and 1. It says, after these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, Greece, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. Boom. And that was written at the same time.
When that happened with Emperor Claudius, that was in the year between the year. Go right ahead.
Okay, so
that was
I know in our red Bible. Con, yep, you got it.
Yeah,
you said
that was between 49 and 50 AD when Claudius did that. Now I'm referring back to the time of Tiberius Caesar, who he was the successor who came after Augustus. After Augustus, Tiberius came up, and then became Caesar after Augustus. It was under Tiberius's reign in 19 AD. He expelled the Jews out of Rome and took 4,000 of them and sent them to Sardinia to be trained in the Roman army and the Roman military. They become part of the military. So now, when the scripture speaks about here and it says about Cornelius being of the Italian band, that don't mean diddly squat. That don't mean he was a so-called white man, because Jakes had Roman citizenship, and then at this time, during the time of Tiberius, which was 17 years before the conversion of Cornelius, the scholars is roughly around 36 AD. So that's roughly about 3 years after Yahushua's ministry. Yahushua started his ministry when he was 33. So when he was 30 to 33 for 3 years. So this was shortly after Yahushua's ministry. What was Cornelius being taught? Cornelius Scriptures say he was a devout man and one that feared the Most High with all his household and gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. He prayed and he gave alms, and he was a devout man. The scriptures say in Acts that there was dwelling at Jerusalem Jews in heaven. So how the hell is he an Edomite? You got anything, brother?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. Wait, give me 1 second. A scripture. Okay. Because this is Proverbs.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, this is Proverbs 15:8, and it's just further proof that Cornelius was an Israelite. So this is Proverbs 15:7. I'll start pointers in 8. It says, "The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the fools doeth not so." Verse 8, "The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight." So when you read about Cornelius, when Peter went to him and said that his prayers became an alms before the Most High, right? So we just read the Proverbs that the Most High only delights in the prayers of the upright, the prayers of the righteous, which we know no Edomite could fit that. So that's just one more tidbit of proof that Cornelius, he had to be an Israelite.
That's right. He definitely had to be an Israelite. He wasn't no heathen. That was an Israelite, because you had Israelites that were dispersed all throughout the Roman world. Again, Israelites were Roman citizens, and then Israelites were a part of the Roman military. Mm-hmm. As I showed you with Tiberius, where Flavius Josephus was speaking about under Tiberius, how 4,000 Jews were basically made to be Roman soldiers, and they were sent to Sardinia to be trained up in the Roman fashion. And then the ones who didn't, I'm going to go back there. Now, the ones who didn't, it says here, it says who had been in of this thing by Saturnius, the husband of Fulvia, who desired inquiry might be made about it, ordered all Jews to be banished out of Rome. At this time, the consuls listed 4,000 men out of and sent them to the island of Sardinia, but punished a greater number of them who were unwilling to become soldiers. The 4,000 that the Sardinia went there to become Roman soldiers on account of keeping the laws of their forefathers. So the ones who didn't go was like, nah, that's not, we're going to get forefathers. The ones who didn't go were punished. And this is before the conversion of Cornelius. So that shows you that Israelites, go right ahead.
No, I was going to say, because it's just like the army today. We all know America's modern day Rome. It patterns itself out of Rome.
That's right.
The whole political system, the army. So just like here in America, the army is diverse. So you can have
you're like breaking up.
Oh yeah, the army is diverse here in America, but it's the same thing in Rome. So you had Jakes in the army. Now here in the army, when you join the army, you got to shave everything off, right? You got to shave your head, you got to shave your beard, everything's got to come off. So in the Roman Empire, I would think that it was the same thing, that they had to do certain things that was against the laws, statutes, commandments of the Most High. So many of them elected not to be a part of the army so that they could follow the laws correctly.
Right. Hey, and you know what? The StreamYard got you sounding like Max Headroom.
Yeah.
But hey, it's Satan messing with the stream. It's making you kind of talk like DMX and Max Headroom. The way that the stream got you sounding now, because we're bringing out some information that the devil don't want out. Hey, Shalom, I not put a beautiful scripture in there. Just put it up on the screen. What is it? John 9:31. Now we know that the Most High heareth not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of the Most High and doeth his will, him he heareth. And that was Cornelius. Because number one, he was an Israelite. he heareth not the prayer, he heareth not sinners. But if any man be a worshiper of Yahweh and doeth his will, him he heareth.
Con.
And that's for an Israelite. That's not for a heathen. So now something else I wanted to show too, because when you look up the Italian band, right, showing you how these devils try to play slick. These devils always try to come with some slick shit. Now, when you look up the Italian band, right, this is what it says. The term for it in Italian is cohos italica civium Romanatum. Cohos italica civium Romanatum. Now check this out. Now watch this slick shit. Cohors italica civium Romanatum was a Roman cohort from Italy formed from Roman citizens. Now we already went into and showed you that there were Jews that became citizens of Rome, and they were citizens throughout the Roman world, right? It says formed of Roman citizen cohort based in Caesarea is referred to in the book of Acts of the Apostles, which is talking about Acts 10, which dealing with Cornelius. It says translated as the Italian band in the King James, which we read, associated with Cornelius the centurion, first Gentile convert to Christianity. Now then it brings up about Josephus. Now check this out, what it says in the Josephus here, right? It says, according to Josephus, the principal portion of the Roman army stationed at Caesarea were Syrians. So what they're trying to tell you, so what they're trying to say, when the scriptures say it was a man from Caesarea of the Italian band, right? And his name is Cornelius. So they're quoting this from Josephus, and they're telling you that according to Josephus, the principal portion of the Roman army stationed at Caesarea were Syrians. So what are they trying to tell you? They're trying to say that Cornelius was of a heathen nation, that he was probably a Syrian, right? An Italian or maybe a Syrian, right? But now when you go into the actual Josephus and read the account, that's not what Josephus said. You follow me? When you go to the actual account in the book of the Josephus, that's not what it says there. See, this is Esau trying to pull a fast one. This is them trying to keep that image going of Cornelius being a so-called white man. When number one, he was, again here, it says, according to Josephus, the principal portion of the Roman army stationed in Caesarea were Syrians. Now, when you go into the book of the Josephus, which I'm going to go there, in the Josephus, I'm going to go to War of the Jews, book 2, chapter 18. Now check this out. Let me go back here to the Josephus. I'm going to go back out here. We're going to go down here to War of the Jews. We're going to go to War of the Jews 18. And bear with me one moment. We're here. War of the Jews, book 2. I'm going to go down here.
Yeah, can you make it, you know how to make it a little bigger?
Because they trying to be slick. So if you go and actually, yeah, no, I'm gonna blow it up. I'm gonna blow it up once I get it. Once I get the chat. Once I get what I'm looking for. Okay. Yes. Here we go. What about now? Bigger?
Yeah, it's a little bigger. I think.
I'm sure brothers can see it.
Here we go. That's kind of good right there.
Yep. Let me pull this up. Now, War of the Jews, book 2. chapter 18. Now check this out. It said the majority in that little thing that I found here. It says that according to Josephus, the principal portion of the Roman army stationed at Caesarea, right? That's what they're trying to tell you. So they're trying to, allude that to being Cornelius. Now check this out. The cohort was among those stationed under Legate Aurelius Cornelianus. But that's not talking about the Cornelius that's in Acts 10. That's talking about somebody else. Saying here that the Italian band, right, were alluded to them being stationed there in Caesarea. Now check this out in the Josephus, what it says, and they try to quote Josephus. Now Josephus says, this is the calamity and slaughter that came upon the Jews. Now, mind you, War of the Jews, book 2, it starts off, let me bring it back to the top and show you something here. War of the Jews, book 2, it says, containing the internal interval of 69 years from the death of Herod till Vespasian was sent to subdue the Jews by Nero. 18th chapter, or book, the 18th chapter of book 2, War of the Jews, this is dealing with when the beginning of the Roman-Jewish War started. The beginning of the Roman-Jewish War started in 66 AD. Now, the conversion of Cornelius was what? About 30, which is about 30 years before the Roman-Jewish Wars kicked off. 30 years before the Roman-Jewish Wars kicked off, Cornelius was converted. Peter went there. The Lord sent him down there to go and what? Tell Cornelius about Yahushua. That was in 36 AD. 30 years is when this particular incident happened, which this is what the Josephus is talking about. This is talking about what happened in Caesarea when the Syrians came. Check this out. It says that in the verse that I'm looking to get is chapter 18, and when you go down here to the 7th verse, goes on to tell you. I'm just going to scroll up here quickly. Speaking about Agrippa coming down here, right? So verse in 7 right here. It says, but on the next day, which is the 15th month of Louis, they made an assault upon Antonia. And it says, and besieged the garrisons, which was in it 2 days, and took garrisons and slew them. This is talking about what they were doing. Right. Now I'm going to go here to 18. Now, when we go here to 18, we go here to chapter 18, verses 1 and 2. Check this. It says, now the people had slain the Jews that were among them on the very same day and hour when the soldiers were, that the people of Caesarea had slain the Jews that were among them, because the Jews were in Caesarea. Caesarea is in the northern part of Israel, along the bank of the Mediterranean Sea. Caesarea is there. Samaria is also up there in that same area. It's another area, but it's separate from Samaria. That's a part of our land. It's in the northern part of Israel. Now it says, which one would think must have come to pass by the direction of providence, insomuch that in 1 hour's time above 20,000 Jews were killed, and all Caesarea was empty of, for Florus caught such as ran and sent guns to the galleys, upon which stroke that the Jews received at Caesarea. So the Jews, we were all in Caesarea. Number one, that's our land, number one. Number two, the Syrians had came up in there and slew the Jews that were in Caesarea. This is at the very beginning of the Roman-Jewish War. So how the hell
Mhm.
can Cornelius be a Syrian when this is dealing with the beginnings of wars 30 years after the conversion of Cornelius? These Syrians were sent up in there to come and kill Jews that were in Caesarea. So you see the bullshit that they try to try to throw you off when you go and try to research this thing.
Okay.
Now this out. Now I'm gonna jump down. Now I'm gonna jump down here to the second verse of War of the Jews, book 2, chapter 18. Now the second verse. However, the Syrians were even with the Jews in the multitude of the men whom they slew. You see that? However, the Syrians were the Jews, the multitude of men whom they slew. For they killed those whom they caught in their cities, as formerly, but to prevent the danger under which they were from them, so that the disorders in all Syria were terrible, and every city was divided into two armies and camped one against another. So that was
So
just
it's
a little bit
population
about
control.
what the Josephus said about the Syrians being in Caesarea. So when you go over here and look at the entire, go ahead, brother.
No, Slakia.
No,
No,
go ahead, brother.
I said basically they cut them. That was like population control, so they could have They don't. They were afraid of them rising up, them Jakes rising up, so they got rid of them, the
Exactly,
majority of them.
exactly. And this was one of the. This is at the very beginning of the Roman Jewish Wars, which is what 30 years after the conversion of. But they make mention of that, but they don't tell you the whole story that's in the Josephus about that to try to make you think that Cornelius was of another nation other than being an Israelite that was converted by the word by Yahweh Shai through Peter. Because what was he told? He knew about the law. He didn't know about Yahweh Shai. Peter brought and told him about Yahweh Shai. Because Cornelius knew about the law. It said he was a devout man, that he gave alms and he prayed always. So there's no way in hell that Cornelius could have been an Edomite.
Can I read something real quick? I don't know if you can
Go
hear
back
me.
here to Acts again.
Oh,
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
all right, con Slacky, man. There's a big delay, man. So Slacky. All right, so I got this dictionary. It's Harper's Bible Dictionary, right? And I looked up Italy. I'm gonna read a little bit of Italy in here, then I'm gonna read a little bit of Cornelius, because they tell you what the deal is, but they don't say it full out. You got to put the pieces of the puzzle together. But you know what? All this was made this way by the Most High,
Right.
you know, because the Most High wanted it this way, because this truth is hidden, it's codified. And when David, he made a prayer and he said, look, he said,
That's
let
right.
their table become a snare unto them. And that table is what? There's knowledge, right? So the Most High, when you go to, was it Isaiah 28, to hear a little, there a little, the spirit has to be working with you, man, to put all of this together. Esau has the truth, but the Most High used Esau, being a devil, to be the deceiver, right? Revelation, the 20th chapter, it said that he will let him out to deceive the nations. Right? So let me read this in this Bible dictionary. I'm just read a little bit. Now this is Italy, and it says, by the New Testament times, there were Jews living in Rome and elsewhere in Italy. Among those banished by decree of Claudius, right, which you went into, and were Aquila and Priscilla.
Right.
On his way to Rome, Paul sailed up the west coast from Rhegium to Puteoli, where he encountered fellow Christians, Jakes, and others came out of Rome to welcome him along the Appian Way, right? That's in Acts 27. It says, those who come from Italy, Acts 18, right? And greetings to the addresses of Hebrews 13 and 24. Now, if you read Hebrews 13 and 24, it says this right here. It says, salute all them that have rule over you, and all the saints. We all know that the saints are who? The Israelites. And all the saints, they of Italy, salute you. Grace be with you all. Okay? So we had brothers, churches in Italy, Israelites in Italy. So it says those who come from Italy send greetings to the addresses of the Hebrew. And then it says Cornelius is identified as a centurion of the Italian cohort, right? So I want to read that because it's going into how the Jews lived in Italy. Then they mentioned, why would they just throw Cornelius up in there if he wasn't a Jew? All right. And then
That's a
now if you go
commentary
to
you read, right?
was that?
That's a commentary you're reading, right?
Con in a Bible dictionary. So now if I go to Cornelius, it says this. I'm going straight to the point. It says Cornelius, a Roman centurion stationed in Caesarea. The story of his conversion, blah blah blah. It says the repetition of his story indicates his significance for Acts as the model Gentile convert, which a Gentile, those are Israelite foreigners in this context. Before his conversion, Cornelius was apparently associated with the synagogue as a God-fearer. He gave alms and dedicated himself to prayer. So the main point is Cornelius was apparently associated with the synagogue as a God-fearer. Now, who are the only ones allowed in a synagogue?
Right.
Israelites. Because remember, not the so-called Jews. They were the real Jews.
Israelites. That's
wicked Sadducees and the Pharisees. Remember, they were hardcore, stick to the law. There was no way they would allow a heathen.
right.
Because you know what? They call the Israelite foreigners heathens. They didn't have no dealings with them. So there was no way in hell they would allow an actual heathen to get near the temple, which shows that Cornelius was one of those soldiers that he kept the law. Remember, a lot of them said, look, I'm not going to join the army, but some of them joined the army, but kept the laws to the best of their ability. So Cornelius, he kept the law to the fullest, and he was also accepted in the synagogues, proving what? He had to be an Israelite, no way around it. That's it on that. That's the main point.
Of course. Right. And again, just because it says that of the band called the Italian band, that don't mean that he was a so-called white man. Like you just went into that, right? Now here's two scriptures that I want to read. One, Hebrews 13 and 24, where it says, all them that have rule over you and all saints, they of Italy salute you. The saints, first of all, the saints are Israelites.
I just read that, man.
Nobody else can be a saint.
God.
Can't be a saint. A Japanese can't be a saint unless their line goes back to an Israelite. Unless their line goes back to an Israelite, then they're a saint because they're an Israelite. A Hamite can't be a saint. A Midianite can't be a saint. Can't be a saint. The saints of the most Israelites. Now, there's another scripture that I want to get.
You got to read verse 25. Read verse 25.
Yeah, I'll read it again. 18:25. Salute all them that have the rule over you, and all the saints. They of Italy salute you. Grace be with you, Amen. Written to the Hebrews from Italy by Timothy. Come on.
It's right there.
Is there any more that need in the book of Romans? First chapter. And this thing is jumping on me.
Yeah, it's the internet. Funky.
Yeah. It says here, Romans 1 and 7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of Yahweh, called to be saints, Grace to you and peace from the power of your Father and the Lord Yahushua. The saints in Rome were who? We read about it. Israelites. Ain't nobody else. The saints that is speaking of the book of Romans was written to who? The Israelites that was in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
The Israelites that was in Rome. That we read about. Read that Israelites were what? Became what? Roman citizens. And they were living all throughout Rome. Living throughout Rome and Italy in different areas that the Roman Empire had. Israelites were there and became Roman citizens. So a lot of them became Roman citizens. A lot of them had Latin names. A lot of them didn't name. Look at Cornelius's name. You see the name Cornelius and you think he's of the, because it says he's of the Italian band, they automatically assume he's a so-called white man. Now that icon that you sent me, this is a soldier, a Jake, hugging the white woman. See, he got to pick her up. He picked her up off the ground. Her feet ain't touching the ground because he was about to get down.
There's a caption underneath it.
Yeah, this is an icon of the caption. The caption says, "Black Roman soldier embracing a white woman, found at Lowham, Somerset, UK, circa 340 AD."
Look at that.
So do you have anything else?
Let me see. Let me see
Your
1 second.
voice is going like in and out.
Nah. Yeah, nah. I think we could. I brought everything I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I had wanted to speak about was the fact of Cornelius, the first Gentile convert, being of the Italian band. That doesn't mean that he was a so-called white man. We done went and pulled up all kinds of receipts. We done pulled up all kinds of receipts showing that he definitely was an Israelite.
Yeah, that's not a avenue for
Joe
Esau to
the
get
average
in.
Negro, the average church Negro.
Matter of fact, did you read Acts?
Yeah, I read Acts. I read Acts the 10 and 1.
Okay.
10 and 1.
Well, okay, no. All right, never mind.
Because I wanted to go into the fact of Cornelius not being number one. The scripture didn't say he was an Edomite. It just said he was of the Italian band, which just was a unit. It just was a unit in the Roman army. Called it the Italian band.
That's it.
And then when you look up the Italian band, I brought out this theory. It says cohors Italica Civium Romanorum, which is saying the Italian band. In
a band is
Latin,
just a group of soldiers.
Yeah. And then when you look this up, when you read down into this, they're trying to tell you that in Syria, the people that were in Caesarea were Syrians.
Yeah.
What are they trying to imply? So
a military band.
Try to research this thing out. Right.
Now, I'll just read a definition. A military band is a group of personnel that performs, well, this song going to the marching band, musical duties for a military function. But that's where the marching band comes from anyway. Marching band comes from the army, because in the armies they would have the band of musicians in the front to hype up the soldiers,
Yep.
and they'll call that
trumpet.
Blowing the trumpet and the drums and whatnot. And that was called a marching band because it was a group. It's a group of Jakes, So that's all band means.
Yeah, a group of Jakes. Yep. But that's what I had wanted to cover. Now another day we'll come back and go through the entire chapter. to go on that point right there, because these so-called Christians and these apologists, that's the number one thing that they want to focus on right there. Oh, see, he was an Italian. That means he was a white man, and then that's the end of the story. There's nothing else to it, just that. But when you go into it, when you go into the history of it and into the other information that people are not going to disclose, or they're not even going to bother to look for, is letting you know that he's a like that there were many Israelites that were living there in Caesarea. It was full of Israelites, because first of all, that's our land anyway.
Actually, there's a part of Italy. I forgot what part. It starts with a P. It's called Little Jerusalem. It's there to this day. There's a lot of catacombs and different the areas where we hid from persecution, and it's still in Italy up to this day. You can look it up. It's called Little Jerusalem in Italy.
Now check this out. As a matter of fact, I'm about to close this out because I pretty much brought the point out. I'm gonna read something else in the Josephus that I found, and if you could get Deuteronomy 24. What is it? 24 and is it 24 and 64? I believe it's Deuteronomy 24, 64.
24 and 64.
What is it? James 1 and Corinthians 12 and 2. Yeah, I think it's 24 and 64, where it tells you that Israel was scattered. Yeah, I believe it's General Deuteronomy. I think it's 28:64.
Oh, 28:64.
Yeah. James 1 and 1 and 28:64, right? 28:64. All right. So go ahead. Go ahead. You can read that.
Okay, Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy 28:64. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone."
And thou shalt serve other gods, which you are in stone.
Which they did in Rome, boy.
And James 1 and 1. Yeah, they did that in Rome, yeah.
They was worshiping all types of shit in Rome or during that time. It was like America, man. You worship whatever you want. James 1 and 1 says, "James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting." Boom.
To the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Yeah, see, the stream keeps going in and out with our voice, like trying to stop us from getting the point out. So you're speaking, but then it's like cutting up your voice as you're speaking. That's nothing but this devil doing that.
Yeah, that's it.
James, a servant of the Most High and of our Lord Yahushua, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. The 12 tribes were scattered abroad throughout the whole entire world. And that, I mean, 1 Corinthians, what is it, 12 and 2? Now, before you get that, I'm going to read this. This is this is War of the Jews, Book 7, Chapter 3. Now, check this out. War of the Jews, Book 7, Chapter 3. And now, because we were talking about Caesarea, right? Now, check this out. I'm going to read something about that, and then I'm going to get to the major point that I wanted to get to. It says, while Titus was at Caesarea, he solemnized of his brother Domitian after a splendid manner, and inflicted a great deal of the punishment intended for the Jews in honor of him. So where did Titus go to? Caesarea. And what did he do? Caesarea, where Cornelius was at. But this is actually 30 years after the conversion of Cornelius, by the way, because this, when Titus and Vespasian ran down on Jerusalem, it's 6 AD to 70 AD. That was the first Roman-Jewish war. Now I'm gonna go down here to my point. War of the Jews, book 7, chapter 3, uh, uh, verses 2 and 3. This is the point. Who remained at Antioch were under accusations and in danger of perishing from the disturbances that were raised against them by the Antiochians. And this both on account of fraud at this time against them and on account of what pranks they had played not long before. I am obliged to describe without fail, though briefly, that I may the better connect my narration of future actions with those that went before. Verse 3. For at first, over all the habitable earth, among its inhabitants, so is it very much intermingled with Syria. Now, you remember when I read when it said about the Italian band being mainly made up of trying to say that they were Syrians that were stationed in Caesarea.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go again. It says the Jews who remained in it says, as the Jewish nation is widely dispersed over all the habitable earth, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad greeting. The Lord said he was going to scatter us among what? All the nations. Nations and in danger of perishing from the disturbances that were made by the Antiochians, and this both on account of the slanders spread abroad at this time against them, and on account of what pranks they played, which I am obliged to describe, which fell briefly, and I better connect the narration of future actions with those that went before. For as the Jewish nation is widely dispersed over the habitable earth among its inhabitants, so is it very much intermingled with Syria by reason of its neighborhood, and had great multitudes in Antioch by reason of the large kings after Antiochus had afforded them an habitation with the most undisturbed tranquility. So that was all I had wanted to read there. That was all I had wanted to read there. That was pretty much it. To show that the Jews were scattered throughout the entire earth. Now, it even said that right there in the Josephus. So when a person goes and reads about the Israelite foreigners, which in the scripture will say Gentiles, or it'll say, we know that it's talking about Israelites. It ain't talking about no heathen nations. But that's because these numbnuts who call themselves Israelites are stuck on stupid, as well as these Christians, architect Christians, stupid.
Yeah, them Yahweh Shai is not
So
working
if you don't have anything else, nope. We could read Corinthians 12 and 2 and we just close it out.
All right. So I got 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. I'll start at 1.
Okay.
Because you said a lot of them numbnuts can't get it, is because they're not spiritual. You know, the Lord gotta be working with you to put the pieces together. Because this actually is a spiritual thing to know this. And really, if you don't understand the Gentile issue or even Cornilius, really, you don't understand. Yeah, you don't understand Yahweh Shai. You don't understand the New Testament. You know, to be real.
Nope.
That's you don't understand the New Testament, right? Because the New Testament or the New Covenant, what allowed the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles, to be accepted or to come in. You know, and Cornelius was the first example of that.
Yep.
So anyway, so this is 1 Corinthians 12 and
it was allowed to be open up to those.
Come again, Bishop?
I said it was allowed to be open up to those foreign Israelites, which they were foreign to what? Because they didn't live in Jerusalem. They didn't grow up in the customs. But Cornelius actually did, because he was one that feared the Most High. How do you know how to fear the Most High? And how did he know how to give alms? And he prayed to the Most High always. Scriptures say men ought to always pray. He didn't
All
know
right.
about Yahweh Shai, but he knew about Yahweh Shai. Go ahead.
And he had a reputation as a God fearing man. So he kept the law,
That's right.
statutes, commandments. You know. So it says, now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. So,
Carried away to these, you know that ye were Gentiles, foreigners, carried away to these dumb idols, even as ye were led.
yep, that's some Israelite foreigners in Rome, which includes Italy, and
Yep.
they worshipped idols. You know, the idols of Rome. Rome had, I don't know how many idols they
Yep.
had. They had a lot of idols. And Jake was into all that shit, just like now, man. Jake is into everything but the truth. They was into everything but the truth back then. You know, the Israelite foreigners, and that all started going back to the time the Book of Maccabees. They made a contract with Rome. You know,
You know. So
read
that's
on. Okay,
so that's pretty. And hit it and touch it again. Go
con.
into it. So with that, I hope you brothers were edified. Those of you that were there, and if you were able to hear us clearly, you know what I'm saying, because Esau messing with the stream, you know, the audio going in and out of the stream when you're hearing us read a scripture or breaking something down or speaking on something. So I hope you were
Hey Bishop, you know
able
what?
to still be edified even with that
Yeah,
happening, and give
we
honor to Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Hashem, Yahweh
Hashem,
Shai,
Yahweh,
Hashem
Hashem, Bakah,
Kodash, and I want to
Kodash,
say Shalom. All of you there that
Shalom.
was on the Shalom to all of you that were all there on the comment board. Now go ahead, brother. Say what you got to say.
No, I'm saying we go replay the replay, and if it's choppy or whatnot, we could do another one. Lord's will, do another one.
All right. So say Shalom. Tawab Allah to
Shalom.
you, brothers and you few sisters that was out
Shalom.
there on the Shalom.
Shalom.